Twisted Nightmare Gaming again. We're here with Conan once again. He's gonna drop another deck profile for Pokemon for us. So I'll let him take it away. What you doing today, man?
We're doing fairy. I like fairy Pokemon, so I had to build a fairy deck, and Gardevoir's best fairy Pokemon. So it's about how cut and clean this is. But this deck is not so clean. So we keep 4 alts. I just need to get as many of these guys and play as fast as possible. That's kind of the plan of the deck. Like if I can get 3 of these on the board in turn 1, I'm feeling real good about myself. I run 3 Curlia because I'm scared of a lot of different things in this game. So these guys might die, and I'm going to need these guys in excess to evolve off these guys when I bring them back. So the whole idea here is that I can do a manual evolution straight into what I need, or I don't have to. It kind of depends on the state of the game. But the way this deck plays, I actually find myself doing these manual evolutions more because there's a stress on rare candy. And it's kind of like similar to the Metagross deck I was showing on your channel earlier, is that this deck is very stressful on rare candy because there's a lot of things that want to use a rare candy. So I run the 3 Curlia just to be extra safe. The Gardevoir, I only run 3 because I pretty much lost all hope of getting 4 of these guys out. Like, it's just not going to happen. And if it happens, that's great. But I'm not going to run a 4th one. It just takes up extra space. I never use it. I find myself discarding it more than anything. It just is what it is. So that's the Gardevoir line. Now the Gardevoir line probably looks a lot thicker than some of my other decks in terms of stage 2 line. But it's because I'm running 2 of these Mudkips and 2 of these Swamperts. So the idea with the Swampert here is that, so Gardevoir, let's go over Gardevoir real quick first, because that's kind of where this deck starts. Her Secret Spring ability allows me to attach an extra fairy energy each turn, so I can do my manual energy attachment, which I'm allowed once per turn, and then I can attach an extra fairy energy with Secret Spring. Now her Infinite Force attack for 1 fairy energy does 30 times the amount of energy attached to both active Pokemon. So if she's got 4 energy on her, and they've got 3 energy on them, this attack's doing 210 damage, which is nuts. So it pretty much knocks out most things in the game. So the idea here is you want to stack a lot of energy on the Gardevoir, but not so much that if it dies, you lose the game because you have no energy left. So this deck definitely runs a lot of energy to keep up with that demand. Her Twilight GX attack is probably like one of my favorite features of this deck, is that I could take any 10 cards from my discard pile and just shuffle them back into the deck. And that can allow me to, that works very well with Swampert. So let me go into Swampert. So Swampert, we run 2 Mudkips, 2 Swamperts. We don't run any Marsh Top. We're just going to rare candy this Swampert. And he's got an ability called Power Draw, which is very similar to another very popular Pokemon's ability in the game right now called Zoroark, which is called Trade. So Trade allows you to discard 1 and draw 2. Power Draw allows you to discard 1 and draw 3. So the idea is it's harder to get to the Swampert than it is to get to the Zoroark, but you get an extra card out of it. And that works really well for this deck because I'm not trying to discard a whole lot of cards. So I might discard some of these Curlias, I might discard a Gardevoir maybe, and I might discard some energy maybe once in a while. But the best thing about this deck is once I've done all this power drawing to discard all these cards, I could Twilight GX all the cards I discarded back into the deck. So I can either thin the deck down to the absolute necessary thing I need to win the game, or if I'm going for a longer game, I can use a Twilight GX to time to take everything back into the deck and play it bottom up. So the Swampert has an attack called Hydro Pump, which is actually kind of relevant. And it does 80 damage plus 20 for each water energy attached to him. But I'll get to that soon. I'm not running any water energy, but that Hydro Pump actually comes in clutch a lot. So I'm running 2 Eevees and 2 Sylveons because you don't get to the Swampert otherwise. Right? There's no way to set up the Swampert unless you play Sylveon. The people who run this deck with 3 Mudkips and 3 Swamperts have bigger balls than I wish to have. They are amazing people. And like with 2 Marsh Tops, no. I'm not doing that. I'm just going to go and turn 1, I'm going to get an Eevee down. I'm going to put a fairy energy on it. The energy evolution ability allows me to immediately take it into the Sylveon on turn 1, which is normally an illegal play, but it's not because of the ability. And then I get the magical ribbon attack. For 1 fairy energy, I can search my deck for any 3 cards I want, put them in my hand when my turn ends. But I can go search for Rare Candy Swampert and just have this Mudkip already down, and boom, I've got the Swampert, now I'm just drawing for the rest of the game, and this card becomes irrelevant at that point. So this card normally is here for like turn 1 and turn 2, and that's it. After that, you don't see this guy anymore. But a really cool feature about this card is the GX attack, which I found is really, really good in our current meta. GX allows you to take 2 of your opponent's bench Pokemon and all cards attached to them and just bounce them back to the hand. Now, if your opponent spent some time evolving, especially using rare candies, this is going to fuck a lot of shit up. It's just going to mess everything up that they're doing. Another great part about this card is the Fairy Wind attack. because in the Rayquaza matchup, this damage actually doubles to 220, which is enough to wipe Rayquaza. So you could easily win a whole game by just putting an EV down, sliding down a Fairy Energy, using Magical Ribbon to go get a double colorless, your Rare Candy, your Swampert, put the double colorless, get a Swampert, and just power draw your way to victory. In the meantime, you're literally one-shotting Rayquazas, and they have no way to respond because 200 is a bit of a hard number to hit for the Rayquaza deck if they're constantly getting knocked out every turn. So this deck is more or less originally conceptualized as a Rayquaza killer. But since Rayquaza's dominance has kind of lightened a little bit, the deck has become a little bit worse. But the main contender for this deck was Zoroark. And now Zoroark's seeing less and less play as we proceed throughout the format. So this deck is actually getting better and better and better and better. I run 2 copies of Tapu Lele because it's a great card, and I can go find any supporter. And I don't run a lot of supporters. So, supporters, I run 4 Cynthia because it's the best supporter in the game, period. There's no debate there. It's an amazing supporter. I run 3 Guzmas. 3 Guzmas allow me to like get the Rayquazas off the bench and kill them. It allows me to kill the Zoroark if I have that 5 energy on Gardevoir and I'm going for that big swing. I can play a 2-hitting game. I can play a 2-hitting game where I force them to retreat to the bench with low HP and then I pick it off with the Guzma. So this Guzma is actually really great. And 3 is fine because I can always Twilight extra ones back into the deck. Play 1 copy of Judge because I hate Metagross players, and this deck is weak to Metal. So yeah, don't let them algorithm. That's basically it. Like I play Judge so I can Tapu Lele and Judge, and then Metagross is screwed. So this is kind of an important point. Against Metal decks, this deck is not really good. You're going to need the Judge. It also works against Necrozma decks, because the Necrozma decks tend to Stevens Resolve into Magnezone, and you can like Judge that away, so you're not going to have to worry about that. Play 1 copy of Lily for the first turn. If I want to draw a lot of cards, if I'm looking at my board and it looks pretty stable, I'll go for the Lily and just draw a bunch of cards. Or if my first hand doesn't have a Cynthia in it, which is very likely because I can only run 4, I run the Lily in that case as well. I run a Fan Club for the first turn as well. Let's say I do have a Cynthia in my hand already, then I'm probably not going to want to go look for a Lily. I'll probably just go look for the Fan Club, because then I can search for any 2 basic Pokemon. It could be the Routes, the Mudkip, the Eevee, and just bench them, which is great because it gives my board an initial setup. And that's it. That's supporters. So there's not a whole lot of supporters happening here. I think I run 10, yeah, which is pretty modest. But yeah, it's just the nature of this deck. You don't need to use a lot of draw supporters because you have the power draw ability to get cards into your hand. So you don't really rely on draw supporters as much. Now for the items, we're going to use 4 Ultra Ball because everyone uses 4 Ultra Ball and the card's great. But on some legitimate level, if there's a Pokemon you're trying to search and you don't have it, this card can get you to it. So it can give me my Kirlia, my Swampert, my Gardevoir, whatever. It can give me my Tapu Lele, which is probably its prime reason for being in the deck, is to go search for Tapu Lele. Now 4 Nest Ball, because I need to set up as many basic Pokemon as quickly as possible. So my ideal board state is to have Eevee, 2 Mudkips, and 3 Routes. So if I'm going to do that, I'm going to need a lot of ways to like pull these guys out of the deck, because it's very unlikely I'm going to hit all those things so perfectly. Run 4 Rare Candy, because this deck already puts a big strain on this card. So basically this card can be used for 5 Pokemon in this deck, and I only have 4. So that goes back to the earlier reasoning of why I run elevated Kirlia accounts. Also, your opponent really can't afford to kill a Kirlia if you already have a Gardevoir with stacked up energy, so you don't really need to Rare Candy to Gardevoir in the mid and late game if you have a Gardevoir setup, so that's pretty nice. So 4 Rare Candy, I trade away like maybe 1 or 2 of them a game with the way I play. It is just how the cards go. Play 2 Max Potion, so I can play the 2-shot game. I'm playing against a really high health deck. Like the Solgaleo Lunala deck. Solgaleo Lunala deck is like just that you're not going to win that without some healing. And some Zoroark matchups you won't win without healing. So I feel like the max potions are necessary. You fully heal the Pokemon, but you discard all their energy, but because of the Twilight GX attack, you can put all the energy back into the deck. So the max potion is kind of better than the Acerola, because the Acerola kind of forces you to manually evolve back in, or use a Rare Candy, which is already way too tight. It's already way too hard to use a Rare Candy to get places in the late game in this deck. So max potion is good for that. Play 2 Choice Band, because I'm not really even hyped about this card. Like, if I were to cut a card from this list, it'd be Choice Band. Like, you can just attach an extra energy. All it does is give your Pokemon 30 extra damage against GX and EX. But you could just attach an extra energy with the way Infinite Force works. I really run it because of Hydro Pump. I think it's the only reason why I still keep it in the deck. Because Hydro Pump in this deck, and I'll show you how we get to those numbers, can actually hit 190 damage, which is really nice because you can knock out Ultra Necrozma at 190, which is perfect for the Metagross Ultra Necrozma deck. So, one copy of Escape Rope, because turn 1, it's painful if you have Eevee on the bench. I'm trying to get Eevee in the active, so we can use her Magical Ribbon attack. So Escape Rope will get me there. I don't really have a way to search it. It's just there. It happens sometimes. Just a nice card. I just really like Escape Rope in this format, to be honest. Energy. Here we go. Get in there with all the energy. There's 5 Fairy Energy. That's not a Fairy Energy. So we're running 8 Fairy Energy. 8 Fairy Energy. Now, why do we run 8? Alright, so let's divvy up this energy for a second. Let's say I evenly divided these amongst my Gardevoirs. And then 1 on Sylveon. So I have 1 on Sylveon. And then I evenly distribute amongst the Gardevoirs these energies. Right? And then I have an extra one in case I prize one. Each one of my Gardevoirs will now do a base of 60 damage to a target opponent Pokemon that has no energy attached. But for each energy they have attached, is 30 more. 2 and 3 are kind of good numbers right now. So most likely they'll have 2 or 3. So we're kind of looking at 120 to 150 damage just with this. I run 4 double colorless energy, so then we put the double colorless energy on here, and these actually do count for the infinite force attack. So now this is 4 energy we have on each one of these Gardevoirs, and if your opponent's running even 2 energy, you're now hitting 180 damage, and then with a choice band, you're now hitting 210. So that's enough to knock out Zoroark, and that's kind of like the big number to hit, is that big 210 number. And then you can see we still have some extra energy here to goof around with. Now, an alternative to doing this, if you have the space to do it, this is kind of like why this deck is kind of difficult, because you have all these energy games happening with how you distribute your energy. You could do a super boost on one Gardevoir, which automatically gives that Gardevoir 4 energy, right? And you could do 3 energy to one Gardevoir, 3 to another, and then a DCE on everyone. So you have 6 energy here, which is a base of 180 damage. 180 damage base, because this actually does count as 4 fairy energies. So when it's attached to Gardevoir with 3 or more stage 2s on the field, but we're running 5 stage 2s, so it's not too hard to get to that point. So this is actually 6 energy. If they have no energy attached, this does 180 damage. If they have 2 energy attached, that's 240. If they have 3 attached, that's 270. So this is another energy spread that you could do amongst these Gardevoirs, and you're just hitting huge numbers. And then these guys right here are hitting 150 apiece if the opponent Pokemon has no energy attached, and they're hitting exactly 210 if they have 2 energy attached. So it's really nice the way the energy works out when you're running exactly this much energy.
So the name of the game is get to 210 as quickly as possible.
Yeah. Now, if you don't need to get the 210, then you can put this on Swampert. And because it counts as 4 energy, Swampert can now attack. And it counts as 4 water energy because it's attached to a water Pokemon. So now Hydro Pump does 160 base damage, and with a Choice Band you're doing 190. You now knock out most base, nearly every, basically, definitely every prevalent GX basic Pokemon in the game is gone. Every prevalent one is gone. You just beat them. So that's great. I mean, there's not too much else to say about the way the energy works. I mean, that's why we run the energy the way we do. That's why the numbers are so specific on what counts we're running. Some other things we can talk about is sometimes I invest DCE to Taproot Lele in this deck to take an easy dunk on people who are dumb. So if people attach a DCE to Zoroark turn 1, I just get really, really, really happy, and I just DCE on Taproot Lele and kill it, so that feels good. So this deck really, really does feel good, because it feels like everything has a place. Literally everything has a place. There's only 2 cards I even consider cutting, and even to that degree, you can see I'm still running them, so.
And choice bands?
Yeah. So I'm still running them, and it's just everything has its place in this deck. There's not a misplaced card. People ask me where I don't run 4 Guzma. Well, because I don't need 4 Guzma. If I get 3 attacks, I win the game. That's just how it is. Why don't I run more draw support? Because I got power draw. Why don't I run more judge? Because I only need to judge either a Tempest, an Algorithm, or a Stephen's Resolve, and that's it. I don't need to judge anything else in any deck. I run more Lily. If I prize Lily, I got Fan Club. Why don't I run more Fan Club? So if I prize Fan Club, I got Lily. It's everything just meshes so well. It has such an awesome continuity to it. I enjoy playing it. Really, I took it to tournament once this format, and I got I want to say 11th place at a 34 Masters tournament. So it's not too shabby. Most of what I did that day, I bricked a lot. I will say that. That was also before I had max potions. So I lost some games simply because I wasn't running max potion. Like legit, I dropped 2 games because I wasn't running max potion. And the third game, and then the other games I just won because my opponent didn't know what was going on, thought the Swampert was cheesy and went easy on me. I don't know. So it is what it is. But yeah, 11th place, 34 Masters tournament is the only tournament result I put on this deck yet. Quite frankly, I'm just waiting for Zoroark to become worse. As Zoroark begins to wane more and more, this deck will get better and better. And our next set, Lost Thunder, is going to re-envision and remix this whole deck into a brand new like substance. Like we might not even need these Sylveons anymore. Which is nuts.
So what I'm hearing is probably after the next set drops, you're probably going to want to do a revision to this deck profile.
Absolutely, yeah. By then, I think I'll probably be running a Steven's Resolve strategy to get to the baby Gardevoir, because the baby Gardevoir has the magical ribbon attack on it with the same energy cost. So it's like, and it has a baller ass attack, which is the old Gallade's sensitive blade attack built into it, which is amazing because it means if you play a supporter, now she does 150. You put a choice man, it does 180. And it's like for energy and for like one fairy energy and a colorless energy. I mean, it's basically doing more damage than Sylveon. It's still searching cards. The only thing it can't do is the Plea-GX, which, I mean, like I said, the Plea-GX is cool, but honestly, I play a lot more around the Twilight than I do the Plea anyway. So losing the Plea-GX does not dissuade me from putting that little baby Gardevoir in here at all.
All right. Anything else you want to say, man?
I think that's it. Go Fairies. Go Swampert, dude. This card never sees any play. I don't know why. When I read that card, I was like, that's better than Trade. Why wouldn't people figure this card out? So I love it. Just a cool deck of just things that I like and things that I thought were really great that nobody plays, and so it's super fucking janky. It is.
And I see that you play a lot of janky decks.
Oh, yeah. I love the jank shit.
All right, man. Again, this has been Nightmare with Twisted Nightmare Gaming. Again with Conan. Profiling another Pokemon deck. You guys have a great day.